May 2026. Hundreds of people are currently standing in a line on Mount Everest, at nearly 9,000 meters above sea level. Right next to them, dead bodies lie frozen in the snow. While exhausted climbers fight for every breath, another man is skiing completely alone from the summit back down the mountain. And in the middle of this chaos, two extreme athletes are preparing for one of the craziest speed record attempts Everest has ever seen. Without oxygen, this is not a movie. This is happening right now, on the highest mountain on Earth, and the 2026 Everest season is turning into one of the most extreme, chaotic, and dangerous seasons in years. The facts as of today. On May 20th alone, 278 climbers successfully reached the summit of Everest and returned safely without major incidents. Just one day later, on May 21st, another 150 climbers reached the top of the world. Within only 48 hours, the summit ridge turned into one of the most crowded places on Earth. And while hundreds of climbers fought their way through the death zone, several legendary mountaineers quietly made history once again. Pasang Pa Dawa Sherpa reached the summit for the 31st and 32nd time in his career, an almost unbelievable number. A level of experience on Everest that very few humans in history have ever reached. At the same time, British climber Kenton Cool stood on the summit for the 20th time, extending his record as the non-Nepalese climber with the most Everest summits ever. But while records were being broken, the mountain was already beginning to show its dangerous side again. Everest is turning into a traffic jam in the death zone. Mount Everest was once considered the ultimate adventure. Today, it sometimes looks more like an overcrowded disaster zone. The images from the past few days are unbelievable. Huge lines of climbers stretch across the Lhotse face all the way toward the summit ridge. At times, climbers are forced to wait for hours, at nearly 9,000 meters, in a place where the human body is literally dying. Above 8,000 meters begins the so-called death zone. Up there, the brain receives far too little oxygen. You think slower, you move slower, and eventually, a single mistake is enough. One wrong step, one short break, and you never come back down. Yet people are now standing there like cars in traffic, almost surreal. Nepal issued hundreds of Everest permits again in 2026, including Sherpas, guides, and support teams. Nearly 1,000 people have been on the mountain at the same time during summit pushes. As of today, well over 500 climbers have already reached the summit of Everest this season. Including Sherpas, the number is significantly higher. That already makes 2026 one of the biggest Everest seasons ever recorded. And the season is still not over. More teams are currently waiting for the next weather window, which means more people, more risk, more chaos. But the craziest part is, the season already started with major problems weeks earlier. The season began with chaos. Long before anyone reached the summit, Everest was already in crisis. The route first had to be established through the Khumbu Icefall, one of the most dangerous places in the entire Himalayas. A gigantic maze of unstable ice towers, deep crevasses, and massive seracs that can collapse at any moment. Bad weather repeatedly delayed the work on the route. Avalanche danger, ice collapses, violent winds. Some teams were forced to turn around. Others remained trapped in the high camps for days. Several climbers described the conditions as unusually unstable, and despite all the warnings, more and more expeditions continued arriving at base camp. Because Everest has a problem, nobody wants to turn back. Many climbers invest years of training, money, and preparation into this one expedition. For some, it is the dream of a lifetime. For others, it is a prestige project, and that is exactly why many continue climbing, even when the mountain is clearly telling them not to. Then suddenly, the weather window opens, and this is where the season completely explodes. The deadly days on Everest. Within just a few days, hundreds of climbers begin pushing for the summit at the same time. The images spread around the world, an endless human chain inside the death zone, climbers standing shoulder to shoulder at almost 9,000 meters. And during this exact period, tragedy strikes. Two Indian climbers die on Everest. Arun Kumar Tiwari reaches the summit first, but shortly afterward, he collapses near the Hillary Step, almost 8,800 meters above sea level. At that altitude, even the smallest problem becomes life-threatening. Even experienced climbers can suddenly collapse. Sherpas attempt to bring him down, But rescues in the death zone are among the hardest rescue operations on Earth. People lose strength incredibly fast up there. Every step feels endless. Oxygen runs low, and sometimes the body simply shuts down. Shortly afterward, another tragedy follows. Indian climber Sandeep R. also reaches the summit successfully, but during the descent, his condition deteriorates rapidly. Reports say he suffered from severe exhaustion and snow blindness. He never makes it back down. And that is exactly what makes Everest so brutal. The summit is often not the goal. The summit is the trap. Many climbers use almost all of their energy during the ascent, and then the truly dangerous part begins, the way down. Most deaths on Everest happen during the descent because climbers are exhausted, dehydrated, unable to think clearly. Some sit down for just a moment and never stand up again. Bartek Ziemski's insane solo ski descent. While climbers are dying on Everest, another man is skiing down from the summit alone. Polish mountaineer Bartek Ziemski is currently performing one of the most radical solo projects of the entire season. No bottled oxygen, no massive support team, no media circus. He climbs Everest completely alone, and then skis from the summit all the way back down to base camp, nearly 3,500 vertical meters, through the death zone, across icy slopes, glaciers, and extremely dangerous terrain. And the craziest part? Shortly before Everest, he had already skied down Lhotse in a similar style. Many people are now comparing him to famous Polish ski mountaineer Andrzej Bargiel. But with Bartek Ziemski, everything feels even more raw, more extreme, more uncompromising. No giant film production, no massive sponsor campaign, no perfect social media spectacle. Just one human being against the highest mountain on Earth. And that is exactly why many climbers are celebrating him right now. While Everest becomes more commercial every year, Ziemski feels like a climber from another era. Silent, extreme, completely committed. But while Bartek is skiing down the mountain, two other athletes are preparing for the next level of madness. The extreme speed record battle without oxygen. Right now, many eyes on Everest are focused on two names, Taylor Andrews and Karl Egloff. Both want to prove who can move the fastest on Everest without supplemental oxygen. And that is exactly what makes their attempts so dangerous. Most climbers on Everest use bottled oxygen, but Andrews and Egloff are attempting to climb without it. No extra safety reserve, no oxygen support for the body. Taylor Andrews has been chasing this speed record for a long time. Several attempts failed narrowly, sometimes because of weather, sometimes because of dangerous conditions, sometimes because the human body simply reaches its limit, but now he is trying again. At the same time, Karl Egloff is preparing for his own extremely fast ascent. Many people are already calling it an unofficial race on the highest mountain on Earth. Who is faster? Who can survive the pressure? Who can push harder in the death zone? And all of this is happening during one of the most overcrowded Everest seasons ever. Imagine trying to break a speed record while climbing past hundreds of exhausted people standing in line at nearly 9,000 meters. That is Everest in 2026. Extreme performance colliding with mass tourism. And sometimes the entire situation feels completely absurd. But while records are being chased, another problem remains impossible to ignore. Everest is drowning in garbage trash. Every year, tons of garbage remain on Everest. Empty oxygen bottles, destroyed tents, plastic waste, broken ropes, abandoned equipment. Even human waste is left behind on the mountain. And with every record-breaking season, the problem becomes worse. Because the more people arrive, the more they leave behind. Nepal has recently increased efforts to reduce the trash problem. Teams are required to bring garbage back down. Deposits are now connected to waste collection, but the reality remains brutal. Everest keeps getting fuller. Every year, more people, more risk, more garbage, and despite everything, more climbers continue arriving. Because Everest has become far more than just a mountain. It is mythology, prestige, obsession, a social media trophy. For some, it is the dream of a lifetime. For others, it becomes the place where that dream ends forever. The dark reality of Everest 2026. The 2026 Everest season may be showing the true reality of this mountain more honestly than ever before. Incredible achievements. Incredible madness. Some climbers are pushing for speed records without oxygen. Others are trapped in traffic jams inside the death zone. Some experience the greatest moment of their lives. Others never come home. And while new expeditions prepare their gear down at base camp, the bodies of dead climbers are still lying above them in the snow, right next to the climbing route, between empty oxygen bottles, between exhausted climbers waiting to continue upward, and still, more people keep climbing higher.